Let's begin. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Daily Power Parsha. It is great to see you. Today is Tuesday, August 24th, 2021. Torah portion this week is Tavo or Savo, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I grew up saying Savo, but the Israeli way and the modern way of saying it is Tavo. So, all us Ashkenazic pronunciations can go out the window. All right, so we have a brand new reading today to explore. This is reading number 3, which is perfect for Tuesday. Yesterday, we spoke about tithing and all that good stuff. Ooh, it's a short reading today. Look at this. Look at this. This is like super short. Okay. And you'll see what I mean in a second. Let's do it. Here we go. Tavo, reading 3. Deuteronomy chapter 26, verse number 16. Hayom hazeh. My friends, I mentioned before that today is the greatest day because it's the day that we have in front of us. And wouldn't you know it? The Torah reading for today begins with the words Hayom hazeh, which means this day. Unbelievable. You can't make this stuff up. This day, says Moses to the people. This day, hold on, let's let Sandrine into the party room, which is this room is what I'm referring to, of course. Okay, welcome Sandrine. So here we go. The Torah says, actually Moses, in the Torah, of course, is speaking to the Jewish people before his passing, and he says, this day, Hayom hazeh, this day, the Lord your God is commanding you to fulfill these statutes and ordinances, and you will observe and fulfill them with all your heart and with all your soul. Now, you will is more of a hope and a wish and a blessing and and a command than a statement of force. It's not like you will do it or else. It's more of like, and hopefully you will observe and fulfill them with all your heart and with all your soul. And the beginning of this verse, though, is the important thing that I want to focus on right away, which is the words Hayom hazeh, this day. And from here, our sages tell us that we learn the following. Take a look at Rashi. This day, God is commanding you, every day you shall regard the commandments as if they are brand new, as though you are just today being commanded regarding them, exclamation mark. I love that. I'm an exclamation mark kind of guy. And here in this English rendition, Rashi throws it out there as well, which I love, right? Every single day. Yes, today, the greatest day ever, Tuesday, August 24th, 2021, Hashem is giving us the commandments anew. They're brand new. Let me explain the psychology of this idea. The way it works is that psychologically, we get excited when things are new. Like, oh, it's new, it's exciting. We anticipate things that are new. We look forward to new things for the only reason that they're new. I mean, think about it. People get excited over stuff. I don't know. You know what you get excited about. You get excited over stuff. I'm talking about like material possessions, right? Like a new
iPhone. Not me, but people would line up overnight.
People line up for this stuff, right? They line up for the new iPhone. So people are into like gadgets and devices, electronics. People are into clothing, and shoes and clothes and bags, accessories and cars, right? Tesla and how Tesla goes on a pre-orders, like I gotta have it. So the question, not everybody's like this, by the way, but there's enough that certainly makes all the companies and keeps them in business, those that are in business, and it keeps all the marketing people very active. Madison Avenue is very, very active in this regard. And what's the idea? The idea is it's new, you have to have it. Why do I have to have it? Mainly because it's new. Yes, there are features that the other one didn't have, and there's stuff that's going on, but the primary reason psychologically why you have to have it is because it's new. And don't you want the thing that's new? New equals exciting. That's the way the human brain works. I'll leave it up to the evolutionary scientists They tell you exactly why. The behavioral scientists tell you why you think that way, that new is good, new is exciting. But that's the way it is. New equals exciting. And because new equals exciting, we get excited about things that are new. And when things aren't new, we get the opposite of excited. We get bored when things are the same old, same old. It could be the most amazing thing, but if I had it yesterday, no big deal, not exciting. That's human nature. I'm not saying the way it should be. I'm just telling you what you already know about human nature, which explains one of the most bizarre phenomenons in life. And that is the child toy conundrum. What's the child toy conundrum? The child wants the toy and has to have the toy and is like, please, 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 can we go to the store and get the toy? Day in, day out, for weeks on end, until you get them the toy. They get the toy. They're so excited. They want to open up the packaging in the store, in the shopping cart. Little kids sitting with their little legs dangling in the shopping cart will want to rip open this bulletproof, and they make them bulletproof box, clamshell, heat sealed, double reversed, twist ties in the back, so you cannot theft that thing from the store. And I'm using theft as a verb here, right? So the child is desperately trying to claw in and open that thing, cannot wait for it, even before it's purchased, before they get into the car. They're already losing accessories in the vehicle on the way home, but come back the next day and it's completely irrelevant. That toy is now belongs to the category of old, boring, stale. Oh yeah, I think I once had that toy. That's the category of toy that new, I must have that toy, is now in. And that's not, and by the way, I hope you realize this, I'm just using kids as our safe space for conversation about ourselves, because we do the same thing, right? We don't grow out of this behavior. You and I are exactly in the same space. We get super excited about things. And then when we have them, it's like, all right, I got it. What's new? What else is exciting? Human beings, again, why this is so, we could pontificate and speculate about this from today to tomorrow, but then it wouldn't be a new conversation, then we get bored of it. But here's the point. Now, the point is less why, but what? And what is the truth? The truth is that we get excited when things are new. When things aren't new, we get bored. This explains a lot of things. Explains how Apple can release devices every 6 months. Well, I mean, a phone every year and a new computer every year, but on several times a year, new stuff is coming out and people are lining up to buy it. And it's not because all the old stuff is broken. And it's not because all the old stuff is obsolete. And it's not because all the old stuff doesn't work as well anymore or doesn't work sufficiently anymore. It's primarily because it's new. And you get excited about what's new, especially when it's super shiny and glossy and cool. So you get excited about the new stuff and the old stuff, which makes, and by the way, this is true in relationships, etc. We don't have to elaborate. Getting back to our point with regard to Torah. Moses is telling the people as follows. There's one factor when it comes to Torah that you might think is a liability. And that is that Torah is not new. Torah is not fresh. All of these modern ideologies, there's so many movements out there. Oh my gosh, so many modern movements and spins and ideas and philosophies and religions. And there's so many things that could catch the eye as being new. And new is exciting. New is trendy, right? New is what everyone's into. And Moses says to us in this opening verse of today's reading, which we're living with today, listen, the power of now. Oh, that's trendy. Sorry. But anyway, the power of now means that what's happening right now is what's important. And what's happening now is we're studying today's Torah section from this week's Torah portion. And it opens with Hayom Hazeh. On this day, God is giving you the commandments. Because when it comes to God and Torah and mitzvot, there is no such thing as stale. God is timeless. God is not a relic of the past. God, nor is God a product of the future. God is timeless. And the nature of timelessness is that it's always in vogue. When you buy a style of dress that is in fashion in 2000, well, I think they probably have, like, the fashion is like usually like a half year ahead. Am I wrong here? It doesn't matter. It's always a little bit ahead, right? But things come in and out of style. And then there are things that are timeless. A timeless look, timeless classic. What does timeless mean? It means that it transcends the volatility of time. Typically, things are really hot and then they're really not. Things are in and then they're out. And these things happen overnight. Something that's timeless, something that transcends time, means that it's always in. Moses tells us today that Hayom Hazeh, today, Torah is in. Torah is cool. I don't think anyone says cool. Torah is, because cool's not cool anymore. I think, whatever. I'm not gonna reveal the limitations of my modern expertise of parts. Huh?
Woke.
Woke wasn't. I don't know the woke. Sandrine can probably tell us. Sandrine's got kids. Huh?
Sick. S-I-C-K.
Oh, sick. Yeah. Okay. Six. All right. Six used to be also. All right. So,
Rabbi, but so the way I look at, like I'm looking forward to the new Torah cycle, right? So I'm looking towards that. So even though, of course, we've done the full year, the full cycle, but for me, that'll be new again, the new,
the new start. But what Moses is saying is I think even a little bit deeper than that. Not deeper, it's a little bit different than that. Moses is saying it's not just when we start it new, it's new, or we do it again and it's new, but every day, the same mitzvah that you had yesterday, that you have today, it's brand new. The same Torah that you had yesterday, that you have today is new. In other words, today, everything is brand new. Joy.
There's always something new to find in every day's reading.
Beautiful, beautiful. There's always something new.
Didn't they say there's nothing new under the sun? Didn't someone famous say that?
King Solomon, yeah, but that means under the sun. As Kabbalah explains, only under the sun, things of nature are cyclical. But above the sun, God, Torah, mitzvot, in other words, things that transcend the natural order of things, are truly timeless and they are new. That's exact. So there's the way Kabbalah explains that is as a support, as a proof text for this idea that there is newness, but it's not under the sun, it's beyond the sun. So if one worships the sun, moon, and stars, if one worships nature, nothing new. Same old nature, the cycles come in, come out, the same stuff. But when we speak about God and God's Torah and God's mitzvot, God's wisdom and will, that now we're talking about something that transcends the very strictures and structure of nature. This is something. These are things. These are realities that are absolutely timeless. And so, bottom line is that Moses tells us today you and I should look at Torah as brand new and be excited about it. That's the payoff, and be excited about it. Not just say, oh, this again. Oh, you again, right? Like you've seen somebody every day for the last while. It's like, oh, you. Okay, I've seen you before. No, this is exciting. We should look at each other also in such a way when we're in relationships, by the way. But the point here is with Torah, Hayom Hazeh. And I love the fact that Rashi guides us with this interpretation. Rashi, the basic, I say basic, not in a negative way, but the essential commentary says, every day you should regard the commandments as if they are brand new, as though you are just today being commanded regarding them. Imagine God told you, I have an idea for you. I have something I want you to do for me. You'd be so excited. But every single day, all right, I did it yesterday, I do it again today. All right, it's boring. No, it's brand new. Let's continue. Back inside, again, look at this reading. Look at that. That's it. 4 verses, very short. Let's continue verse 17. Talk about choice. We spoke about this Sunday at Kabbalah and Coffee, different levels of choice and free choice. You have, by the way, if you don't join us live for Kabbalah and Coffee, you can always catch the recordings on our podcast, Knowledge on the Deeper Side, available wherever good podcasts, only the good podcasts are found, and on SoundCloud and on YouTube, etc. So,
is there a link I can find those recordings, or how do I find them?
Say it again, is what?
Is there a link or like anything where I can find?
Absolutely. So hold on, do you prefer to watch or to listen?
Watch.
To watch, okay. So, of course, give me a second. Let me just conveniently pull up a...
or you can give me both, like in case I'm in the car or something, driving, I can listen to podcast as well.
Yeah, for sure. So first thing you want to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell for notifications. I'm kidding. I just know that from the script, what everyone says when they talk about their YouTube channels. So here, let's do this. Let me hit the chat box up with our YouTube link. Boom. YouTube, it's easy to remember, youtube.com/Intown Jewish Academy.
Okay.
And so we started the YouTube channel, I want to say, I started years ago, but I only had like literally a handful of classes, like maybe a dozen over the span of 5, 6, 7 years. And then in the last, probably, let me think, year and a half, I guess it's coming up on 2 years, a little under 2 years. We've been doing everything also, video, YouTube, and populating that. We have now a lot of content, and thank God we're getting a lot of subscribers. We're close to 800 subscribers, which, it's not like a million, but it's
great.
It's getting there. Okay, so that's that. And then the audio, this is just for the benefit of everybody.
Better than my YouTube channel.
Well, so you have to share them. And then, okay, so you have to let us know, and you got fans, so we'll support. Then you have, I just posted also the SoundCloud, that's the audio, but you could find our podcast wherever podcasts are found under this name, which I'm typing in on the chat as well. Knowledge on the Deeper Side. That's it. So we have the YouTube channel, the SoundCloud channel. Knowledge on the Deeper Side is the name of the podcast. You can subscribe, again, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music. Now we're up on just anywhere and everywhere. And the audio, I think we have about 1,300 plus episodes or classes and lectures. So definitely what to keep everybody busy. If we're talking
Thank you, Rabbi. Great.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's jump back in. Oh, so my point is, how do we get there? Because if you want to learn about free choice, this past Sunday, so just 2 days ago, I did a class, Kabbalah and Coffee, where we focused on free choice, 3 different levels of free choice within us and within our everyday choices and our relationship with God and God's choice of us. So definitely check that out for more details on that. Let's go back inside and continue our conversation. And the reason why that's relevant is because, can you guys see the screen with Tavo? Is that what's up?
Yes.
Okay. Take a look at verse number 17. You have selected option 3. Unfortunately, no one's able to speak. No, you have selected the Lord this day to be your God. You know what selected means? Chosen. You have chosen God to be yours and to walk in his ways and to observe his statutes, his commandments, and his ordinances, and to obey him. In other words, you have chosen God and to follow in God's path, what he wants you to do. That's your choice. That's hopefully your choice, our choice. Today, hayom, this day, once again, using the word this day. That's a key phrase in Torah. Anytime it uses the Hebrew word hayom, which means today, it refers to not only the today when it was said originally, but the today of every day when we study it. So any day that we study the Torah and it says hayom today, it means today. So today we have to recognize that this is fresh. God is real. God is true. God is eternal. God is timeless. God's Torah is timeless. God's mitzvot are timeless. It's new. And that's verse 16. Verse 17 is choose God. There's a lot to choose today. There's a lot of things to choose from, a lot of distractions, a lot of, different realities, different things, different options. Choose God. Choose God. It's the real thing. God is the the real McCoy, so to speak. God is legit. Choose God, walk in his ways, observe his statutes, his commandments, his ordinances, and obey him. What does it mean to walk in his ways? If I'm not mistaken, let's check out. No Rashi here, but our sages tell us that walk in his ways means not observing his statutes. That's said separately. So what does it mean to walk in his ways? Regarding observing the statutes, commandments, and ordinances, different types of mitzvot, we talked about that before. That already states clearly in the verse. So what does it mean to walk in his ways? That means to emulate God's ways as described in Torah. So for example, we know that God visits the sick. How do we know this? Because God appears to Abraham shortly after his circumcision. And God said to Abraham, God visits and shmuz with Abraham. So from here we learn that when somebody is not feeling well, we should make a point to visit them and to, at the very least, to pick up the phone and give them a call, but ideally to visit them in person. When somebody goes through loss, we comfort them. When somebody is in need, we should help them. When someone doesn't have clothing, we should dress them, etc. These are all values that we learn from God throughout the stories of Torah, the creation story, and other stories. We learn all of these as the sages enumerate in the Talmud and the Midrash, very, very in a lot of detail. We learn how to be a mensch by learning from God's behavior, from divine behavior. And that's what it means over here, lalechet b'drachav, to go in his ways. Doesn't mean to observe the mitzvot. I mean, we should also do that, but that's what it says in the next few words, right? Going in his ways means acting as a mensch in the way that God teaches us. Ray.
All right, so if I'm not mistaken, the Torah started and ended with God doing a mitzvah. He gave clothing to Adam and Eve, and he buried Moshe, right?
Beautiful. Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Very well said. At the beginning, what happens? Adam and Eve don't have clothing. God gives them clothing. And at the end, Moses passes away and God buries Moses. So here we have two of the many values that God demonstrates, models for us. Someone needs clothing, you help them out. And that means basic material, physical needs. And when someone needs to be laid to rest, it's a big mitzvah. We should go in God's ways. Yes, Indrin.
Yes. First of all, I'm glad you clarify about the feast day because I came late and I was going to ask you what day are we talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You started to clarify, and I see like in the Hebrew it say Hayom Hazeh only once, but not the not 17 or so.
Yeah. There's a lot of hayoms. There's 3 hayoms here. The first time it says Hayom Hazeh, which you are correct, means this day. The next 2 times it says Hayom without Hazeh. It's translated in the English all 3 times as this day, this day, this day, this day. Hayom really means the day. Hayom Hazeh means the day that is this, meaning this day. But we understand in context, the other 2 hayoms in 17 and 18 also mean this day. Why doesn't it explicitly state Hayom Hazeh also? That's a really good question. I would imagine the commentaries deal with this, but all I have next to me is my trusty Gutnick edition, which gives us some insight, but not the Makrot Gedolot that has all of the insights in it. But it's a good diuk. It's a good analysis on it. If I find an answer, I'll let you know. But I don't have insight.
Well, I was just wondering if another word in Hebrew, because I'm not fluent. If
it just says Hayom.
another word was meaning as a.
Yeah.
So, okay.
It just says Hayom, but in context it means Hayom, today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that means also, anytime we encounter the word Hayom or Hayom Hazeh, it means the day that you and I, it means that day, but it also means literally this day. So Moses says, we are to choose God. And what does it mean to choose God? Right? Say, yeah, I believe in God. I have faith in God. I love God. Okay, that's a good start. But what does it actually mean? It means to walk in his ways. It means to observe the commandments, the mitzvot. to obey him, to listen to his voice. Obey him, I don't know. Lishma b'kol means to listen to his voice. I think it's a little bit nicer way than saying obey, but whatever. Bottom line is, talk is relatively cheap. I mean, depending on where you're calling in the world, whatever, but it's relatively cheap, right? Talk is easier than action. If you're selecting God, if you're choosing God, if that's your choice, then we have to stand behind it with our actions. We got to follow through, which is the two halves of the verse. Let's continue verse 18. So you've selected God, and at the same time, the Lord has selected you this day. God has chosen you today to be his treasured people, Am Segula, as he spoke to you, so that you shall observe all his commandments. God has chosen you for this purpose of doing mitzvot. Let's see if we have a Rashi. Rashi says, what does it mean? God chose you to be his treasured people as he spoke to you. That's a reference to as he told you all the way back when he gave you the Torah, which is recounted in the book of Exodus. When he said, Rashi says, and out of all the nations, you shall be to me a treasure. God says, from all the nations, you are the Am Segula, you are my treasured people, because you have the responsibility of Torah and mitzvot. Let's continue. Verse 19, to make you...
Rabbi, but weren't we, I mean, Adam and Eve are our descendants, is that correct?
Say it again.
Adam and Eve are our descendants?
No. Adam and Eve are at the beginning of time. We are descendants from Adam and Eve, as is everybody. All human beings come from Adam and Eve.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was just wondering if somehow we were already like the first. I don't, it's very.
No, not the first. Not the first. And the Jewish people are unique in that God created a relationship with Abraham and Abraham's descendants. And then again, at Sinai, God created a covenant, an agreement. And now again, this is the third covenant that Moses is creating on this day, which becomes timeless, a timeless everyday covenant where we choose God and God chooses us for a very specific purpose, for the purpose of bringing these messages into the world, or bringing this unique way of living into the world, this unique way of life. That's the unique Jewish legacy. It's not just bagels and comedy. I mean, it's Torah mitzvot. That's the unique legacy. I mentioned bagels and comedy because some people have argued, even Jews have argued, that we don't need Judaism anymore, or Jews, because we've done it. We've already influenced, Western culture positively. We've given them bagels and comedy, and we're good. We don't need Jews anymore. But there's another element, obviously, a more essential element of Judaism, which is about Torah and mitzvot, and that's still a thing. Anyway, just talking about it to talk about it. Let's continue verse 19. So God has selected you as his treasured people, as he told you at Sinai, so that you shall observe all his commandments, and to make you supreme above all the nations that he made. Okay, we're going to explain what that means. So that you will have praise, a distinguished name, and glory, and so that you will be a holy people to the Lord your God, as he spoke. And here we get to this idea that responsibility comes with privilege. And when I say privilege, what I mean is that the privilege is carrying the responsibility, right? When you have a teacher that says to one of the students, I want you to be sure to, lock up the classroom after we leave. Okay, it's a responsibility, but it's also a privilege. It's something unique that this child does, that this student does, that the other ones don't. And at the end of the day, Torah and mitzvot, Torah gives us a very unique set of responsibilities that serves ultimately as a privilege for you and I. Look, everybody has a purpose. All of humanity has a purpose in general. Everyone individually has a purpose. And there are 7 laws for all mankind, 7 for all mankind, like the Denim Company, that applies to everybody, how to live a good, moral, decent, civilized life. The Jewish people are unique in that God created a special covenant, And God gave us a special set of laws, rules, and regulations that don't apply to the masses. Like on a very basic level, no one else is required to eat kosher other than the Jew. The Jew has a mitzvah to eat kosher. Everyone else, eat whatever you want. Just one of the 7 Noahide laws is not to eat from a live animal. Don't eat a limb or a part of a live animal. So in the absence of that cruelty to animals, everything else is kosher unless you're Jewish. And then you have a different diet. Why? God created that covenant. I can't tell you why. I mean, we could pontificate from today to tomorrow. We can theorize. We can philosophize. We don't know. But here's what we do know. We know that there's a unique code, and that's a responsibility. You ask someone, do you want 7 laws or 613 laws? Choose the 7, right? I mean, it's much easier to live a good, decent, moral life and to check all the boxes when there's 7 boxes to check as opposed to 613. And today we don't have all 613, that are pending or that are applicable because we don't have a temple, etc. But there's a lot. There's several hundred. And each mitzvah has a whole host of sub-mitzvot and details that fill volumes and volumes, 63 volumes of Talmud. Not 63, whatever, dozens of volumes of Talmud, 63 tractates in the Mishnah, but dozens of volumes of Talmud and hundreds, thousands of Jewish legal texts. So what's the point? The point is it's a responsibility, but with responsibility comes a sense of distinction and uniqueness. And that's what we're speaking to. Let's see if there's a Rashi here. Rashi just clarifies, so that you shall be a holy people, so that you will be a holy people to the Lord your God as he spoke, meaning when he spoke at Sinai and he said, and you shall be holy to me. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not Sinai, it's Leviticus. When he said, and you shall be holy to me, from Leviticus 20:26. Okay, so that's it. So what's the message of today? Today's short 4-verse reading. The message is, number 1, Torah is fresh. Torah is timeless and timely. Torah is able to guide us on our most current dilemmas. I gave a class recently at the retreat a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, coming up in 2 weeks, about cryptocurrency from a Jewish perspective, about market manipulation, Reddit, Wall Street bets, all from a Jewish perspective. I spoke about government spying, government drones hovering above cities, taking video, surveilling 24/7 without consent, right? Is that ethical, legal, moral, etc.? Torah is timeless. Torah is timely. Torah is for all time, and it's for our time. So that's the first verse. And the second, and then the next few verses talk about the covenant, us choosing God, God choosing us, and creating this great relationship. I will say that as in any relationship, things have not always been peaches and cream. It's not always been easy, right? God has had to put up with a lot from us. We've done a lot of shtick. You know what shtick is? Yeah, everyone knows what shtick is. Shtick is like, when things are not so yashar, not so straightforward. God's put up with a lot of shtick from our part, and we've put up from, I want to be respectful here for God, or regarding God, we've put up with a lot of challenges from God as well, right? That's the reality is that life is difficult, and oftentimes we look up and say, God, like Tevye, right? Are you kidding me? Like, what do you want from me already? Can't you make it good? Why so challenging? Why so difficult for me, for my family, for my community, for my city, for my country, for my world? Why so difficult? Right? These are questions that human beings have asked and still ask today. We ask. So it's not easy on both sides, but here's what we know. We have a relationship. And in a relationship, step number 1 is be committed. I mean, there's 2 ways to understand be committed, but I mean in the way of committing, right? Don't be committed that way, but be committed in a way to the relationship. So, like in the English American vows that you see in the movies, and I'm sure at weddings as well. I take you to love and to cherish, till death, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. That typical classic vow. It's not something necessarily from the Jewish ketubah, but it's something that's that has been often said. And that's how, in a similar vein, we think about our relationship with God. That we stick with God, even though it could be stormy sometimes, and we're not sure what's going on. Like, God, are you listening? Are you even still there? Okay, even though we're not sure sometimes, we're committed, and God remains committed to us, even though sometimes we check out a little bit on the relationship and we've gone AWOL and we're ghosting God. God's like, do you hear me? And we're like, I don't know. I've got other things that I'm working on. So the key here is to reset and remember what's going on here in the relationship. Reminds me of the story that I've told. I told the story recently, but I love the story. I heard this from Rabbi Manis Friedman. Story of a husband who asks his wife to warm up some soup and says, I'm going out for a few minutes, I'll be back. But in the meantime, please warm up a bowl of soup for me. So she puts the soup on the stovetop, and she turns up the fire, and the soup starts boiling, and she puts it into a bowl, and everything's ready, and the table's set, and she's sitting down also. She's waiting. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year, nothing, garnished, no sign. Listen, it's a parable. So suspend the calling the police and putting out bulletins, because it's just a story for right now, right? It's just a parable. So yes, that would happen otherwise, but stick with me. Eventually, years down the line, the husband shows up. He's like, hey, I'm home. Soup is there. Right? Soup is still there. He sits down like as if nothing happened. And he starts eating the soup. He says to his wife, come on, it's cold. That would be the ultimate chutzpah, right? After coming back so many years later, no warning, no nothing, and you're complaining about the soup being cold, you're lucky you have soup. You're lucky you have a wife. You're lucky you have a house to come back to, right? So that's also the way it works in our relationship. We can say to God, look, you're not always going to get hot soup from us. It's not always going to be like on fire. It might be cold soup, but we've been waiting for a little while. I mean, we're still here. We're still here. We're showing up. We're doing our thing. And maybe some days it is hot soup. But on those days when the soup is cold, when we're not feeling it so much, give us the credit for being here, even though on your end, it's been a little while since we've seen you. It's been a little while. Let's be honest. It's been a little while. Yes, God gives us life and every day and all. Yes. But it's been a long and bitter exile. It's been a while. It's been a minute since we had a temple in Jerusalem and divine revelation. It's been a little bit. So we say to God, we're still here. We haven't left. The soup is on the table. It's room temperature. And that's okay. It's okay if it's room temperature also. So what I'm trying to say is today's reading, Moses says, choose God. And what I'm telling you is we are choosing God. Let's take it seriously, but not be too harsh on ourselves either. Let's choose God. The temperature of the soup, everyone can tweak on their own. But the good news is we're choosing God, and we should continue to choose God. All right. Mark.
Yes.
You got something? I saw.
No, I was just stroking my chin.
I thought you were buzzing in on the buzzer.
No.
Anyway, speaking of buzzers and game shows, disappointed about Jeopardy over here. Anyway.
I have one thing.
Yes, Joy.
I think that a thing with this reading today is that we choose God and God chooses us. And that's repeated, that both sides come of free will and choice.
Love it. Very good. Good. Yeah. Right. Choice implies a free will. Could have gone either way, but we're choosing. We're in it. And it's collectively, this is true in each one of us. And it's really a good message to think about, less than 2 weeks or 2 weeks from today. This is the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, we know in Kabbalah, is the day in which we choose God to be king. We coronate God as king. We say, God, we want another year of this relationship. And so that's a really powerful message to remember this time of year about choosing God. There's a lot of other stuff to choose. But
Can you talk about paragraph 19, please?
Yeah.
Or verse 19?
Sure. Let me pull it up. Let me share it. Yeah.
About that we're supreme above all the nations.
Yeah. So the way you're right. So the way I understand that is not, and I know it sounds like better than like, a ranking system. It's not the way I understand it. And again, we have to remember we're dealing with a translation that's not always exactly, it's one person's translation. What I take from this verse, the way I understand it, is that Moses is explaining that having the responsibility, having this unique responsibility, puts us, the Jewish people, into a unique relationship with God that is different than the other nations. So whether we call that higher, right? Does it have to be called higher? I don't know if it needs to be called higher, but it is unique. With every responsibility comes a privilege, right? The responsibility itself is a privilege. If you're responsible for taking care of something, that means that you were entrusted. That means that you were selected based on hopefully some qualification to be the one to get this job done. That's a vote of confidence and a vote of praise. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah. Rabbis, but I mean, if the whole world has 7 laws and we have 613, and we're such a minuscule portion of the world, I mean, logically, it seems like more should have this, the 630, more, it seems like more are needed. I don't know,
I hear you. I mean, the question is if the whole purpose is that everybody should do all 613. I don't think that's the purpose. The purpose is that the Jewish people are doing the 613. Doesn't have to be everybody. I think that's the key idea. This is very different than other faiths and other religions, which I think sometimes we're influenced by. In other religious beliefs, it's like, well, if this is the right way, then it needs to be that for everybody. And Judaism is like, it's not the right way. This is the Jewish way. So there's a unique Jewish experience, and this is the way it's done. But
we have the power, though, even though we're so small, to bring Mashiach. I mean, we have the power, even though we're so small in numbers and we're the only ones.
Right. And Mashiach, yes. And Mashiach really is the product of the whole world, kind of acknowledging a deeper truth, but everyone in their own way. In other words, or everyone as they can relate to God. So it's not about everybody suddenly observing Passover and listening to the shofar in Rosh Hashanah. I mean, it could be, it doesn't have to be. It's about everybody being a mensch. It's kind of like everybody is unique, and the Jewish people are everyone hopefully models this, but we have the opportunity to model what it's like when one celebrates their uniqueness and their unique identity, and doesn't feel the need to just dissolve into the general mass of humanity. So by remaining distinct and having 613 mitzvot, that's not the same as everyone else. It's a message. It models. It shines a light for all, as do other people, that there's permission, if you will, and that it's okay, and that it's to be celebrated to be who you are. So yeah, we have a unique responsibility, unique role. There are certain divine values that are universal, certain that are Jewish specific. It's a composite mission, some for everybody, some for us, some that others should learn elements from, but not everything, some that others don't have to learn anything from. It's just for us. It's a bit of it's a complex dynamic, is Torah mitzvah. I hope that makes sense. That's the way I understand it, at least. I'm explaining it the way I relate to it, and I understand it based on my experience and study. So is there another way to explain it? I'm sure, but that's the way kind of that I relate to it. All right. Yes.
Yeah, I actually looked up, excuse me. It's actually Kedoshim.
Yes.
The reference.
You shall be holy.
This is where this is where in the Chumash it says, and I've separated you from among the peoples. And that's what Rashi refers back to. So maybe so in other words, in this case, supreme means that we're separated.
A distinction, right? A distinction.
Yeah.
Which is true. The Jew is distinguished by the fact that we have 630 mitzvot, a unique path. And by the way, it's not exclusive. That's a very important point also. It's not exclusive. Anyone who wants this unique responsibility is welcome to join. That's the whole point. Like whoever wants can join. You don't have to. You have your own set of, but if you want to join this team, this is what we got. This is our role.
Yeah.
It's like the grounds crew at a baseball game. I don't know why I thought of that. Why was I thinking of grounds crew recently? Whatever. It's like, you want to join the grounds crew? Sure, you don't have to. If you want to, okay, there's a protocol. You know what the grounds crew does? They like take care of the field. When there's like a rain delay, they pull out the tarp really quickly and they run. That whole, whatever. It is what it is. But join the crew. You gotta, it's unique responsibilities, uniquely positioned.
There was something interesting today, Rabbi. I actually had to get a COVID test to prepare for the mood. They have a lot of restrictions. Anyway, so the nurse doing it, he was Hispanic and he had a Jewish star on. And I said, "Are you Jewish?" He didn't really want to say. And then when everything was done, I asked him again. He said, and then I said, "Well, I'm Jewish." So we got to talk to, and so I showed him, 70 facets. I mean, he had the Jewish story. I didn't get a chance because someone else, I wanted to try to find out what's the connection, but
right. The origin.
He had it was gold, it was very, he obviously had created his own, some sort of connection. I wasn't able to get, maybe.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So I don't know what it was though.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sandrine, final word.
I wanted to say about you were saying that the Torah is always new, and once I was picking up my son and I was blasting your podcast in the car like I often do in the house, so he's very used to hear it, and he said, "How can Rabbi Sollish still have things to say?" So I want to thank you for making it like always very interesting, even if we take the Torah class of the Wednesday lunch and the one at night. And it's always new, always interesting and inspiring.
I appreciate, thank you very much. It's a cute story, very funny. And thank you for sharing that. It means a lot. I will say that I just looked at the SoundCloud, which is, it's not all the classes that I have recorded. Even the SoundCloud is only, 6-7 years old, maybe 7 years old. I think 6 or 7, and I've been teaching for about 14 years here. So there's a lot more that's not yet up, but we have 1,285 tracks on SoundCloud, which means there's a lot of content. And to your point, I guess there's still what to talk about after all these, to 1,300 sessions. There's more.
And we're at what's our number here for what, almost 300, right, of the DPP?
It's gotta be. Yeah. All right, great to see you all. Don't forget tonight, for those that wish to join, I'm working with the reality of our teacher, and Mrs. Nomi Freeman will be presenting in person for those that are up to joining in person and wishing to join in person. It's called 60 Days, a spiritual and meditative look at the months of Elul and Tishrei. So this is going to be a 2-part series that launches tonight. If you were intrigued by it, wish to tap into the energy of the holiday, then I highly encourage you to join. She's a phenomenal teacher. Each session is going to have guided meditation. It's going to be a lot of fun. She's a great teacher. So that happens tonight, 8 p.m. You can find out more on our website, intownjewishacademy.org/60 days.
But it's in person.
Sanctuary.
It's in person. Yeah, she's not a double a dual classroom
Got it. Yeah.
person. So it's going to be only in person,
Right.
and that is tonight, 8 p.m.
It's upstairs in the
It'll
sanctuary.
be it'll be upstairs in the sanctuary. I'm going to send out an email soon to everyone signed up for it with kind of like the logistics and details on it. But yeah, it's going to be upstairs. Yeah. All right. Hope to see you guys. And tomorrow we're back on. Same bad time, same bad channel. All
I
right.
have a sukkah question.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. First of all, is Chabad selling, like, I had to get rid of some of my stuff. Is Chabad selling it?
No, best is to go to Judaica Corner. Janet will have. Yeah.
The big mats that go on top of the sukkah.
Yeah, the mats. Yeah, she sells the mats. You just have to know what size.
I know.
Highly recommended. Yeah, to go to her. Yeah, we don't have supply.
Okay.
We usually get from her.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rabbi.
It's good to think about this now because shipping is delayed and everything is slow. So I spoke with her already 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
She has a
wow.
website. She has a sukkah supply website. What is the address? Let's see if I can find. I'm going to try to look in my WhatsApps here for this. Judaica Corner Square site. Okay, here we go. I'll put in the chat box if anybody's interested. It's
Can you email? I don't check.
I can email it to you.
Thank you.
JudaicaCorner.square.site, and it has a bunch of sukkah options, sukkah supply options.
Yeah, I hope it's not too late for me.
You know, she told me that. Oh, look, it says orders must be placed by August 30th. So it looks like there's still a week or so, a little less than a week. Yeah.
Very
all right,
good.
Ray, I'll send you that email. All right.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi.
Bo, good to see you. Hey, Bo.
Thank you.
All right. Have a
Oh,
wonderful
look at
day.
that.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye, all.
Thank